In this video, I'll take you through the process of transforming this unpainted Astarion model into a fully painted masterpiece. The model is sculpted by Bulkamancer. If you've got a 3D printer, you should definitely subscribe to their Patreon. They release multiple amazing models every month, and you can grab this model directly from them links in the bio. But if you want to get your hands on a finished piece, no worries, you can grab the printed version, painted or unpainted, from my shop. Let's jump right in and get painting. To start, we prime the entire model. Priming is key because it helps the paint adhere better to the surface, giving us a solid foundation to work with. After applying a black primer, I do a zenithal highlight with gray primer from the top, which really helps add volume and bring out the upper details of the model. Next, I move on to the skin. I cover all the skin areas like the face and hands with a base coat of flesh tone. Initially, I used a luminous flesh for extra brightness, but I wasn't quite happy with the result. So I went over it with a darker skin tone, then reapplied luminous flesh from the top to create the depth and tone I was looking for. This layering technique gives the skin a natural highlight and volume. Once the skin is complete and sealed with varnish, I move on to the eyes, and let me tell you, one of the best parts about painting this chibi model is how easy it is to paint the eyes. The raised sections of the face make the eyes stand out, giving you clear divisions to work with no fuss. Typically, eyes are the most challenging part, but not here. For the eyes, I start with the black base. While that dries, I move on to painting the hair in gray, starting to bring the character to life. For highlights, I'm using Procreal White Blue. I start by applying white where the light would naturally hit, layering it on top of the gray base. This technique creates nice contrast. Gray adds the shadows, while the white makes the highlights pop. The final part of the face is the eyes. Using a brush with an ultra-fine tip, I carefully fill in the colors. The lower section is painted black, and what makes this chibi model easier to work with is that the sections are raised, so it's almost like painting in a well-defined area. It's a great feature that makes the eyes less intimidating to paint than usual. I apply white for highlights and red for the iris, carefully layering the paint to keep everything clean and precise. Take your time with this part, as the eyes are one of the most important features. Once the eyes are finished, the face is done and we're ready to move on to the body. Moving on to the body, I start with a white zenithal to give the clothes some natural highlights. Initially, I painted the clothes purple before realizing that Astarion's outfit is actually blue. So I switched gears and went with Payne's gray for the base, covering the entire outfit. Then I sprayed dark blue from the top to add highlights and give the clothes more dimension. Once the base colors are done and sealed with varnish, I start adding the details. The top portion of the shirt is painted in dark magenta, and for the embroidery, I use primary yellow. The embroidery is slightly raised, which makes it easier to paint, but because of the fine details, you really need to take your time here. If any yellow spills over, just touch it up with dark magenta and you're good to go. Honestly, I'm in awe of the sculptors who designed these models. The precision is incredible. To give the embroidery a more regal look, I paint over the yellow with metallic gold. Just a tip, metallic gold is thick, so use an older brush since it can wear down the bristles. For the inner pants, I go with light brown, carefully painting it without spilling over to the blue section of pants. And for the shoes, I use burnt umber or dark brown. After painting the smaller details, like the belt, I freehand the gold lines onto the shirt, but thanks to the raised sections, it's a bit easier to keep them straight. I already sealed the model with satin varnish, so fixing any mistakes is no problem. Next, I paint the entire shirt white as a base. This is a crucial step because red tends to pop much better when applied over a lighter color, especially white. Starting with white ensures that the red will be vibrant and even across the shirt. I take my time to cover the entire area thoroughly, making sure to avoid any uneven patches or streaks. It's important to get a smooth, solid coat because the red will need a clean foundation to really shine. Once the white base is dry, I carefully apply the red to the sections that need it, focusing on getting the shade just right. I compare each section with my reference image to ensure the tones match and the placement is accurate. This step requires patience, as you want to keep those edges clean and avoid spilling into the other areas. For the shirt underneath the sleeves and around the hands, I switch back to white, paying special attention to those smaller, more detailed sections. The tiny hands and cuffs require precision, so I use a fine-tipped brush to make sure the white doesn't overlap onto the red or other parts of the model. Finally, I add metallic silver to the belt buckle and small details on the belt. Metallics can be tricky to work with because they can dry a bit thicker, so it's essential to use a controlled hand and apply in thin layers. The silver gives the model a nice finishing touch, adding a bit of shine and making those smaller elements stand out without overpowering the rest of the colors. And there you have it, the transformation of our adorable Astarion chibi from a plain model to a vibrant masterpiece. I hope you enjoyed watching the painting process as much as I enjoyed creating it. Remember, if you'd like to get your hands on this painted Astarion chibi or any of my other custom painted models, head over to my shop rangrez5.shop. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of the Rangrez Creations community. Stay creative, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next video. Let's keep making art together.